Good morning, Florida lacrosse fans. Tuesday morning, June 14th. Welcome to Morning Coffee. Lee Roggenberg, your host. Remember that in the off season, we'll be with you Tuesday and Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Throughout the off season. Bring you the news as it breaks and as we cover it. Excuse me. Welcome to the show. So good. Remember, if you haven't already done so, to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, please. We certainly are building the audience up bit by bit and continue to do so throughout the summer. Okay, so far let's see what's happened since we last broadcast on Thursday. Tampa Lax Report held their senior all-star game over the weekend. Nice to see some people tweeting about it, and always an enjoyable thing. Congrats to Tampa Lax Report for continuing to do this, and keep up the good work, guys. John Galloway, head coach, Jacksonville University, got a contract extension. I believe it goes through the end of the decade. So John's hard work in building the program into a top 20 finish in the polls this year, certainly being rewarded. I believe they were as high as number 9 at one point during the season. Had a great year. And you kind of figure also a little bit of this was probably the Jacksonville administration realizing we lost the very successful women's coach to another program. Let's make sure to lock up John for the long term to keep him here in Jacksonville. So congratulations, John, on your extension, and good luck in the years to come. Buffalo and Colorado, NLL. Those of you who are fans of the indoor sport, Buffalo looked in the third quarter like they were going to cruise to winning the championship in 2 straight games. I had to watch Colorado turn around and take them down in the fourth quarter, setting up the winner-take-all game on Saturday. NLL championship game will be on ESPNU starting at 8 p.m. Also TSN if you're watching us up in Canada, and on ESPN Plus on the app if you're not around the TV set at the time. Nice news out of PLL that was sort of based on the article on the Florida D1 power rankings of the kids from Florida. I didn't realize this, but Will Jones, who was co-number 1 in the article, has made the 25-man roster for Archers after graduating from Vermont. Will, the Bishop of Moore alum, congratulations to you. Let's hope that we start to see you dressing on the 19-man game day roster. He unfortunately didn't dress these last 2 weekends. And Will, great to see that a kid that I watched in high school, who I thought was a heck of an under-the-radar player, is now proving it even further at the professional level. He joins a number of other kids with Florida links. I've talked about the launch links before, but some of the other links in PLL. Jake Bernhardt, Lake Brantley, is the captain of the Whip Snakes. Jesse Bernhardt, his brother, is with Chrome. Both of them obviously play. Jack Dolan, Jacksonville University grad, made the Redwoods 25-man roster. Matt Rambo on the Whip Snakes, Bulls assistant head coach. Garrett Epple of the Redwoods, as Brian Clinton always reminds me, got his start with the Boca Jets lacrosse program. I looked for Sergio Salcido and checked in with the league. It looks like Sergio is pretty much retired at this point, and we'll see what happens, with him. I suspect he's probably done with PLL. I just checked him out, and he is, working with a company in the Orlando area. So, Sergio, if you're retired, thanks again for showing an awful lot of kids in Florida what hard work can lead to, being a walk-on in a Division I program and eventually a an All-American in college and playing a couple of years in MLL and in the PLL. So if that's it for you, thanks and good luck in your future too. Okay, now the power rankings. When I went through this, obviously there's probably about 75, 80 kids on Division I rosters. The majority of them either really did not play at all or did not play much or didn't do quite enough to get consideration from me. I will say that there were, I guess, about 25 total. Let's see. The ones that I didn't include on the list: Drew Mates of Mercer and Plant High School, Jared Chenoy of Richmond and St. Thomas, Devin Naidu of Quinnipiac and Ponte Vedra. Those are the three closest to making the final cut of the top 15. All three had nice seasons, but for one reason or another, whether they just had players ahead of them that had better years, for the most part, that's why they were 16 through 18, if you want to put it that way. Some of the others that I considered, but just, couldn't really put on the list: Christian Kropp of Yale and Benjamin, Hudson Bone, Lake Island Prep and Penn State, Jack Killian, Oxbridge and Providence, Xander Valentini, Benjamin and Brown, the brother combo of Reed Smith and Devin Smith at Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra, Mercer and St. Andrews, Carl Klepper, and Marquette and Cypress Bay's Anthony Corselli, whose season was cut short with an injury and might have kind of snuck in if he had played a full season. Okay, so in reverse order, number 15, we had Trace Hogan, Merrimack and Jupiter. Number 14, Nicholas Perez Blanco, also Merrimack, Berlin Jesuit grad. Connor Purcell, Mercer and Haggerty. Matt Weingardner, Mercer and Maclay. Zach Antonio, Fairfield and Plant. Mikey Berkman, Syracuse and West Orange at number 10. Number 9, Jason Sullivan, Cleveland State and Dr. Phillips. Number 8, Wyatt Schupler, Army and Ponte Vedra. Number 7, Mikey Adler, Duke and St. Thomas Aquinas. Number 6 was Ashton Wood, Mercer and Nice. Number 5 was MJ McMahon, Utah and Cardinal Mooney. Number 4 was Dylan Hess, Georgetown and Ponte Vedra. Number 3 was Austin Struzula, St. Joseph's and St. Edwards. Number 2 was Eric Dobson, Notre Dame and Fleming Island. And number 1 was the tandem of Jackson Canfield and Will Jones, both at Vermont and both Bishop Moore grads playing together. I just wanted to touch base a little bit on how I sort of came to that. I tried to make it sort of influential for their team. Obviously, a couple of the schools had mediocre seasons, and maybe you could look at it and say, okay, this one had these types of stats because they were a member of a team that maybe wasn't quite as good. But, still, this is still Division I lacrosse. They're still playing top competition. And they produced for their team. And, that's really, it's sort of like when you go and you look at what's the GOAT of all time, and then you try to compare a LeBron versus a Michael Jordan versus a Bill Russell versus a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And it's really, you have to play the schedule that's in front of you. You're playing who you're playing against. And the true comparisons really tend to be, how much did you perform above and beyond, say, what your peers were doing? And that kind of works at the team level also. It's not just a matter of, versus other generations. People always talk about, why was Babe Ruth so effective? And the matter was very simply that there were seasons when he hit more home runs than a full team would for other teams. And that's just an amazing thing. Never mind his pitching accomplishments, which, if you're not really a baseball fan, you don't really know. And then you look at someone like Wayne Gretzky, who set the scoring record so ludicrously high beyond what anyone had ever done in the NHL that he was just above and beyond. But then how do you compare him to a Bobby Orr who changed the sport himself and was beautifully, was a terrific defenseman. So then you look at it here in lacrosse, and you just have to say that the effects that these players had on their teams, playing their schedules, is what kind of led me to do this. And when you kind of look at it, would Dylan Hess have maybe been higher if he was an offensive defenseman? Quite possibly. But he unselfishly took a role that was not in the books when you would expect it, and he handled it very well, and still produced some production. Not as much as last year, but that's when you're playing two-way midi and mostly on the defense. That's going to hurt your offense, obviously. The good thing is, though, is that I was able to make a top 15 list. I think sometimes we tend to overlook what that means when you have 70 some odd Division I schools and less than 3,000 players at the Division I level on a roster, to have, in effect, 3% of, well, not 3%, of a little over 1% of the entire roster space. Well, I'm sorry, it's closer to 3%, 2.5%. Let's say 2.5% of all the players in Division I rosters are from this state. That's a great accomplishment. And when you think that every one of those players I named had a significant number of stats, most of them starting full-time, that's also showing a great sign about how fast we're producing, even if we don't always get recognized at the national level in national high school polls when it comes to that. But, saying, keep up the great work, guys. Kids, work hard, because you can see you've got role models that you can aspire to at the college level now. We're going to continue to keep track of kids as they move on. A number of the kids that are on this list will be coming back next year, so you'll tend to see some repeats, and you'll tend to see some other kids moving on and moving up. And we're going to certainly see a great continuance of the growth as we become even more and more of a hotbed state. Okay. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And please like the video if you do so. We'll see you on Thursday at 8:30 in the morning. Always remember, #grow the game, respect the game, honor the game. This is Lee Roggenberg saying so long from the Sunshine State.